What's
your
that?
screen it says R to return to Fitra.
Oh,
See what I'm saying?
assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Man's World podcast. We're here again another week, and we got a bunch of stuff ready for you guys this week to talk about different relationship dynamics, good and bad advice given during marriage, and a bunch of other things. So, with that, we're just going to jump right into it. Again, if you have any comments, questions, put them in the comment box, hit us up in the chat, email us at emailamansworld@gmail.com, and we're going to get right into it. So, let me share my screen. Okay, so here's the first clip, and this has popped up in my feed a few times over the years. Pretty sure you guys have seen it too, but we'll just play it so we can remind ourselves about this.
You married?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Is he happy?
Oh, that's a weird question. Usually they ask if I'm happy.
Yeah, like it's a different kind of an interview. I'm just, because he's not here, like I want to show my care for him as well. Is he happy? Your answer is yes, no. You don't wanna answer that question. I think it's okay. I think we got the answer.
Who we?
It's me and the camera guy. You got it, bro?
And fuck. And fuck.
Are you married?
So you see here that he asked her the questions, "Are you married?" And she blooms up, smiles, "Yes, I'm married." And then he says, "Is he happy?" And she says, and that's a unusual question in that situation because, as she points out, she says, "Usually people ask me if I'm happy, right?" And then she can't answer about her husband. But as he points out, her non-answer and her expression, her reaction to that shows very clearly that either A, she has no clue whether her husband is happy, and B, she knows very well that her husband is not actually happy. So what do you got to say about that, Mubarak?
Yeah, I think we all I think probably every man on the planet, probably if they seen this, they came to the same conclusion that the camera guy and the host did,
Yeah.
which is he's not happy.
Yeah.
But I think that the question that he asked was not just an excellent question, but it's a question that every woman should ask themselves about their husband. And you asking that question and actually making him happy is a stronger indicator of relationship success than whether or not he loves you. So if he loves you, that does not mean that he's happy with you, nor does it mean that he's willing to make the sacrifices and continue the relationship. So that's something that you really have to think about and internalize. It's a stronger indicator of the strength and the success of the relationship if your husband is happy with you more than if he loves you.
Yeah. And just a reminder for the guys as well, if you happen to be a minority that does not know whether your wife or wives are happy, that's a question you can ask yourselves as well. Just are my wives happy? And that in any interpersonal relationship, whether it's, we talk about marriage a lot, but whether you're a supervisor at a job, are my employees happy? Are the people in charge of happy? Like, are my coworkers happy? This is something that you really have to look at when you're in relationships with people, is that, and I say this a lot to used to say it a lot in my ex marriage, but also with my children, and is that relationship, much like communication, is not a one-way street. It's not a one-sided affair, right? To have a relationship, there has to be a give and a take on both sides. To have communication, there has to be communication, saying something, hearing something, internalizing something. It's a two-way street. A lot of people, and I'd say a majority of people, think of relationships, communication, and anything dealing with other people, just like this woman, she was looking at it as a one-way street. what am I happy? I'm married. I have a husband. Am I happy or not? And then when it was flipped and asked for her to look at it from the other perspective, she basically froze. And it probably dawned on her at that moment, like, my husband isn't happy. And maybe she's upset. And that's a natural reaction for you to be upset or whatever. But maybe she's, she's projecting out. But maybe, hopefully, we give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe after the show, she realized, like, wow, I'm a selfish person. I don't even know or care whether my husband's happy or not. And I'm just worried about myself. And, just something to think on, especially because this really does affect women and men. You have to be careful if you're married to someone like this who doesn't actually care about your happiness. Something you should think about.
Yeah, and it is, and even for her, like for the woman, it seemed, we can infer from her response that she was not happy, or she had some gripes or some complaints.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that for every woman who's in a relationship or has a husband, the key to, or the straightest path and the strongest way to get your husband to make you happy is to actually put forth the effort to try to answer that question in a positive sense. And as in, when you say, hey, is my husband happy? If you're really, really focusing in on doing that, unless you're married to an ogre or a really bad person, your husband will reciprocate that in some way or various ways, or he will at least match it or exceed it. But you have to make that effort. That is a better way of you actually getting him to make you happy, or for you to be happy with him. And I'll just say this too. It is better. It's better for the husband to like you than to love you. Like if you just ask a man, do you like your wife? And he says yes, more than likely he also loves her. If you ask a man, do you love your wife? If he's married to you, he probably does. Because you can love someone and not like them at all. I mean, think of you have family members, you have you have people who you grew up with, you love them to death, but man, they get on your nerves, or you just don't like them, or you can't deal with them. Man, I love that brother to death, but man, nah, he can't come over my house, or no, I'm not gonna deal with him, right? So the same way. So a better indicator for you is that, and speaking to the women and for the men too, but mainly for the women, is that if you can work on getting your husband to like you, forget about whether he loves you or not, because if he's with you, he probably does. But if you can get him to like you, and then you're probably going to get him to love you as well. But on the flip side, I wouldn't necessarily say that's the same for men. Like if your wife loves you, it's probably better. That's a stronger indicator of her being willing to go that extra mile for you. But on the flip side, trying to get your husband to like you will get him to love you as well.
Yeah. And that that plays into, like, so men, if you're married to someone who maybe you don't like, and you love but you don't like, or is not fulfilling certain things that you feel you need or want in your life, especially as Muslims, and especially even now in secular society, polygamy is becoming more of a thing, right? You see even non-Muslims out there with men with 2, 3, 4 wives and being promoted out there. But as Muslims, we can get other wives to maybe find a wife you do like. And I love this brother, for the sake of Allah, but we'll play his advice first.
And my advice to you brothers is don't do polygamy. أنا لا أنصح بها. I don't advise people to do it. صح? Don't. You want to enjoy your life? Do you want to have a good time in this dunya? Do you want to not age? Do you want to spend some time in the gym? Yeah. Do you want to leave the house with the same shoes? Polygamy will just get you confused. And if you're in it sabr, resilience, patience is required. We all together, brothers. It's needed. The reason why, brothers, is not because the women bad. Wallahi, that's not the reason. It's because the huquq that come with it is very heavy. Is it not? That's why Imam Shafi'i said, it is best never to do polygamy. Imam Shafi'i's madhab. And his qawl is what? Why? Because لِأَنَّهُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَى الظُّلْمِ. It's closer to oppression to do polygamy. Sah, brothers. And my advice to you.
So nothing he's saying is really wrong, but I would say that when he built up to it and he's saying, do you want to have a nice, lovely life? Do you want to have an easy life? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to have no troubles? Well, and I always go to this when people speak against polygamy. If you can use the same argument against monogamy, then you can't use it against polygamy, right? You can't, like, for instance, I have debates with my brothers all the time who say, like, oh, every time there's a polygamy situation, the husband and wife are arguing. I said, every time there's a single marriage, the husband and wife are arguing. That's not an argument against polygamy. There's going to be problems in marriage, right? And I don't like the idea of, when we're talking, especially from an Islamic perspective, when we're using like ease of dunya and stuff as a argument against doing something that is actually like the sunnah that Rasul Sallallahu did, right? We can't say, oh, on one aspect, when we're talking about Islam, like Islam, your life's going to be full of tests and trials. The pathway to paradise is, no one would take it because there's so much struggles, but the pathway to Jahannam is so easy and decorative, right? But then when we go into talking about polygamy, like, man, brother, don't you want an easy life? Don't you want an easy pathway? Don't you want this? No matter what path you choose, whether it's polygamy or one wife or even no wife, your life is going to be full of tests and trials. It's going to be hardships. It's going to come for you no matter what. And what form that comes in, that may change depending on what decisions you make in your life, whether you want one wife, two wives, no wives, three wives, four wives. It's going to change, right? But you can't make a blanket advice to just brothers and say, don't do polygamy, right? For some brothers, you may say, yeah, you probably shouldn't, or you shouldn't right now. But what are you going to tell the brother that is, say, maybe hiding millions of dollars? We'll get to that. Hiding millions of dollars from his one wife, and maybe is married to a wife like we just did in the first clip that doesn't even care about him, or they don't like each other. And he's part of a community that has tons, like maybe lives in the UK, where there's all these single widowed or divorcee mothers who are young and need a good husband. Brother, don't do polygamy. You want an easy life, you want to keep going to the gym and do what you want to do, don't do polygamy. I have a problem with that just generic broad advice. It should be on an individual basis.
So respectfully, Dr. Griffin, and this might be surprising coming from me, but I agree with him 100%, but with a caveat. I say that in general, for the general everyday average Joe, and for the person living in the West or in countries that are socially and financially affected by Western culture, his advice is spot on. And I wasn't always at this point or would agree with him 100% like that. And I actually do agree with you as well. I think that there is a mixture of the two. But what he said, pretty much all of it, I could see why he would say that. And if I didn't know anything about a man who said, "Hey, I'm going to get a second wife," and that's all I knew. I just know he lives in America, lives in the West. I don't have any other information. I would say that the information that Abdurrahman Hassan, this brother, gave is spot on, because I don't think that polygyny or polygamy or getting married to more than one woman in the West in general, in most instances, the majority of instances, is worth it. I think that it is because of the finances and culture, um, that it would probably be too difficult to manage financially and socially and culturally for the average man and for most men. So, for instance, if a person wants to marry a second wife, if we're talking about how it should be done, which is he would finance both homes, you know what I mean? Any children that come from both of those things. And so this is a man that's going to have to be above average in his earnings. Actually, he's probably going to have to be, you know, making at least double of the average if he's going to manage two homes in an average way. So if the average,
Nope, not at
well,
all. Not even
well,
true.
so just think about, no, I'm talking about without any sort of, without any, okay, concessions here or there on either side. When you talk
Mhm,
about what a woman is expecting in this culture, in this day and age,
mhm,
they're expecting to have a home of their own, you know, transportation and time and energy, and a certain amount of maintenance that goes into that. And if you think about that, I think we a couple of months back we did the show where we broke it down. It's going to be about, in general, in average in America, $4,000 to $5,000 a month if you're
mhm,
doing what normal Americans do, okay, or people in the West do. Let's say $4,000 a month. You know what I mean? That's 48,000, 50,000 a year. So the person is going to need to top 100K, bring it home at least, right? And so that puts him in an area that most people don't make. That's almost double the average. And so if you look at that, what you probably would have to spend, what are you getting in return?
mhm.
What are you getting in return? And so I think financially it's prohibitive. It's prohibitive financially. That's without any concessions, right? If we just look at just the woman, what the woman is expecting, right? The woman is expecting for the man to take care of them and wine and dine them to a certain extent and to be taken care of. And if a man comes in with that perspective and does that, okay, he's going to spend at least 50K for each situation. That's not even, I mean, even if you throw kids in there, it's not going to be a whole lot more, but in general, we're going to say if you want two wives, that's going to be $100,000 at least that you're going to be kicking out. So add another 50 if you're going to have 3 or 4. That's without any concessions. Okay. So if we're talking about just in general, and that man is, has to do this for both, then that's the situation that it's going to be. Now, that's why I say in general, don't do it. Now, as we say, a man should only marry a second wife if he needs to, and it should not be just because he wants to have intimate relations with a different or a new woman. If it's just
Mhm.
for that reason, you're heading in trouble. Now if he's rich, if he's making 150K or 200 or 250 or whatever, and he has that extra income, then I still wouldn't advise it, but he might have the extra money to spend. But in general, if that man wants children or wants more children than what his current wife can have, for instance, she can't have children, or she doesn't want any more children, and he wants children, then that is a legitimate reason. I can understand that. Okay. Or if for financial reasons he needs to bring more income into the household, and this woman makes a certain amount of money, and she's going to then be able to leverage that and use it for the betterment of the family as a whole, then that's a reason, um, or if she's going to come in and she's going to help in making the household that he has, or the system that he has within his household, run better, smoother, more efficient, or whatever. So those are the only 3 reasons that I would, like if he has a business or something, right? He has a storefront or whatever, and she's gonna work 40 or 60 hours a week, as a cashier, or stocking or whatever, for free. A lot of people who own businesses, their wives work in the businesses. They don't take a salary, but they're part of the system. So I look at that as reasons why a man should. Now he's saying don't do it, but if you have these reasons why you should, then it changes to, yeah, go ahead, or that's a legitimate reason.
So let me ask you this. So it's always best to give individual advice based off of the circumstance that an individual is in, right? But now we're talking about you're giving advice to American born raised men living in America, because it's not a cultural thing, right? Every culture, the women are against polygamy. Don't tell me any culture, his culture specifically, Somalis might be more against polygamy than Western American women. It's more about the same, right?
Well,
so
the thing is that when we say no woman is like a champion for there are some actually there's some that are like
there's some women, but we're talking about groups of women. There's no group of women that you say they're for polygamy.
Absolutely.
Not one.
So I'll say culturally, you're not going to find majority of women, no matter what religion, where they are, that are going to be for it. Right. But culturally, it is different, where this is something that the men do. This is something that the women do, even though they would rather not. But it's part of the culture. This is what happens. And so they're not necessarily, it's not something that they would say, oh, you're doing something strange, or you're doing something that's not the norm. Right. So in Somalia.
Right. Well, yeah, but the bottom line is, no matter what they say, whether it's strange or that, they're not for it. Right. And how that plays out when it happens is different in every culture. But the bottom line is that they're not for it. Okay. But we're talking about to just generally Western born and raised Muslims, right? Especially Americans. We got American culture, whatever. And you look at all of the different issues that American, let's make it even more, a Black American man faces in our society. You look at the issues that they face, and if you gather all of them up and you're given a blanket, you should or shouldn't do polygamy, are you still saying, and giving that advice to just a broad spectrum, you're going to say you shouldn't do it? And then on follow-up question with that would be, would your justifications for whether you should or shouldn't, if I then ask you the same question of whether to have kids or not, would your advice be the same?
Well, to answer the first question, the first part of it anyway, if I'm giving general broad advice, it still would be, if I don't have all the information, the more information I have, then it might change. But in general, no, I do not think they will be able to be successful. I don't think they can successfully do it because of the financial and the social pressures that will be there. That most people are under societal pressure, and most people are under, they're restricted within a certain financial framework. So if we're just in general, most people on average, people make about $50,000 to $60,000 a year. So
but it's okay. So there's that. So now we're talking about societal, right? You're talking about a group, right? And you're telling us, so now with all the issues that we know we face as Black American Muslims, and and we've talked about this before, polygamy will solve 90% of those. And now you're telling men, don't do what's going to solve 90% of the issues that you and your family face.
Yes, because because this is what we have to factor in, the thing that man that we're saying, okay, yeah, these issues that our society faces, and this would solve it. The other side of that equation is the woman. The woman factors into her mindset and how she's going to come into that. Yeah, it would solve the problem if she would accept the solution. So a lot of times that's the issue. If the woman was receptive to the medicine and to the cure for the issue, then it wouldn't be a problem. So
okay. So what you're saying is that this is the cure, and because the patient won't accept it, the men shouldn't give it.
Well, you shouldn't waste your time. For instance, if you had to give a pint of blood to save the patient, but the patient will reject it, hey, keep your, don't waste your time. My thing is that, okay, put it this way. Because you would not necessarily, like we advise men, you should not get legally married. Why do we tell them that? Why do we tell them, say, hey, don't get legally married? There's no benefit in it. Why? Because all the harms on the backside in general. Now, there are some women, of course. Now, you yourself and me and some people that we may know would not have an issue with legally marrying our wives. We may not have an issue. But And not to say that we're great or anything like that, but that's not the norm. And if just a brother off the street, you don't know him anything, he says, "Man, I'm about to get married. I'm going to the courthouse right now." What would you tell him?
Don't get
Stop.
legally married.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
it's just,
there's no benefit in it. But that's not the same scenario, because if we're saying that polygamy could solve a bunch of these problems, that means we're saying polygamy has a bunch of benefits, and you're
yes.
comparing it to something that actually has no benefit.
I wouldn't say that it has no benefits. There are some small benefits, some very small ones for
There's
legally
none.
married.
There's literally there's no benefit for American man legally marrying an American woman.
Your
There's not
insurance would be a
one
little bit.
benefit.
Your insurance would be a little lower.
No, it won't, because you can still do the same thing.
Hey, listen. Okay. You might have the numbers. I'm just telling you what is normally the reason why people say, "Hey, your insurance would be lower." You also will get tax breaks, for certain things to be
The
married or
same
whatever.
tax breaks that you get for not being married.
Well, I guess there's no benefit.
There literally is no benefit to legally get married.
Hey, listen, we're on the same page. I agree with you on
Well,
that.
here's my
But
point.
what?
Here's my main point, right? Is that at some point, right, when we're saying something is, because when we give advice, like you're giving advice to a society, right, a group of people, right? When you're giving that general advice, individual advice is a little bit different.
Mhm.
So when we're telling men, and we'll also say African American men in general don't do polygamy. It's actually a contradiction at the other end. We say polygamy will solve all of our problems, because if you're saying, oh, you're going to avoid these individual problems, but guess what? You're going to face you and your family are still going to face all those societal problems that you because you avoided it individually, right?
Um,
But as a group perspective, if we say in the financial thing against polygamy is a total non-argument, because this, for instance, and I'm gonna do some conflating here, but Allah it's actually shirk to say I don't want to have a kid because I'm afraid of the financial burden that it's going to bring on me, right? I make the same argument for I'm going to avoid polygamy because I'm afraid of the financial burden on me. When Allah tells us that every individual brings their own risk.
Okay, I follow you, but there's a problem here because, for instance, if like right now, if you say, "Hey, listen, I'm going to get a second wife," and you just say, "I'm going to take Dr. Griffin's advice and say, hey, just do polygamy," I say, "Okay, great. Hey, Fulana, there, let's get married." She says, "Okay, where am I going to live?" Okay, I'll get you an apartment. That's $2,500 a month. Okay, well, I need XYZ. The cost of that is going to come up to about $4,000 a month. That's bare bones. So that's an actual number that you know. Now, when you factor in, brother Fulan, he makes 45,000, 50,000 a year, and his surplus income with already his wife and kids that he already has, is not enough to cover that extra 4,000 a month. Then what do you tell him? Just do it and hope?
No, see, you keep going back to this individual advice. You create a scenario, and then you say, okay, this is why you shouldn't do it. I could make the same scenario and say the second woman he's marrying doesn't actually require anything from him, and she's actually going to give him a job that pays him twice. You can create a scenario in which it doesn't
that's why
fit.
I said, if you just take it where at face value, what the norm in the culture and what they expect Islamically and culturally, the expectation is that he is going to fund her life.
No, it's not the expectation in American relationships.
Okay, well, when we put the two together, Muslims and American,
and I say even in most Muslim American women do not expect their husband to 100% financially take care of them, especially in polygamy situations.
Now that's news to me. I have never seen a woman who, as a standard, like her expectation is that she's going to take care of everything. Usually they make that concession because of either their situation or the freedom that they want or something like that. But in general, I don't think the woman, no, like even in America, just non-Muslim women, just the culture, women, when they talk about maybe if they gonna have a boyfriend or something like that, but as far as getting married, they usually look for someone who's making more
Would
than
you say
them.
for most people that you know, just Muslim, non-Muslim, just all the people you know, would you say that the women on more than average are stay-at-home moms, or do they actually work? Because the average American household is a 2-income household, which just says that, okay, it might be a want, but the expectation, the reality of what people expect to do getting a marriage, the expectation in American marriages is that the husband's going to work and the wife is going to work. That's the expectation.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Muslim households is a little bit lower. Like if the wife stopped working, it wouldn't be seen as strange, and the husband would not stress the wife about covering that extra. He would do extra, and I think that it's more the norm that in Muslim households, even in America, in the West, that wives stay at home. I see that all the time. They, the wives will drop their, kids off at the masjid and just stay there until the whole school day. Just
Now, are
hanging
they
out in the
American Muslims, indigenous American Muslims? That's what
no.
I'm saying. That's what we're talking about here.
Okay. You may have some leeway there. I'll give you that. But I will say that definitely Islamically, the expectation is for the man to pay for everything, and it is a
Right.
concession and a caveat, a concession to the rule when the woman is also doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that
Right.
if that's something that they agree to. So what I'm saying is that in general, like if you just gonna just randomly pick any Western born, raised, American, indigenous, whatever woman
Yeah.
out of a hat, would you expect her to be able to culturally function in a polygamous environment based on what you know?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're very optimistic. I
I'll
don't think
say
so.
that they'll function just as well in a polygamous environment as they do in a regular marriage environment.
No, I don't think
I
so.
would say so.
I
And
don't think so
here's
because
where I'm coming from is that when we're given broad advice, you don't look at the possible individual situations. You look at it as a macro effect. So when we're saying polygamy can fix all these ills, especially if we're talking about the African American community, Muslim community. Polygamy can fix so many issues, right? Pretty much every issue that we face as African American Muslims, polygamy can fix. I can make an argument how polygamy can fix it, right? Now, so when we're giving advice to African American men, and just as a collective, the African American men come and ask me, hey, should I do polygamy? Yes, you should, right? Now, there's going to be people that it doesn't work out for, and there's going to be people that it does work out for. But as a macro sense, it's going to help African American men, African American families, African American Muslim society better and benefit them. Now, some men are going to take L's. Some women are going to take L's. But overall, as a society, as a group of people, a lot of the ills that we're gonna have a net positive, right? If we look at the net positive, like GDP or whatever, yeah, we lost some sales in gold, but guess what? We picked up a lot of sales in silver, and overall, we made more profit. Overall, as a society, we're gonna have a better profit. Why? Because when all those men do polygamy, guess what? It's training other people. It's getting them used to a societal thing. It's training other men how to do it. It's our daughters aren't going to be single moms that I have to take care of. Like we're talking about financial responsibility, right? Okay, what's the financial responsibility of like I avoided polygamy. I didn't establish it in my family. I kept with the cultural norm of we're against this. We don't do this. It's such a financial burden. My daughters go and get married to some men. They fall into this typical issues that Muslim African American sisters fall into. And guess what? I got to take care of another woman anyway and her children from a broken marriage because of all these issues that stem from our group of people avoiding polygamy.
I mean that's a stretch, a long stretch.
It's not a stretch.
Let me tell you why. Because like if you even if you had 10 daughters,
Yep.
You could have all 10 daughters still live in your house with you.
Yep.
And yeah, it might cost you a little extra to house those grown-up women, but it's not
And
gonna
their
cost.
children.
Hey, what are they having children for? Now listen.
Because they're married, divorced.
Hey, but you see, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying is that in general, there is an issue in this country, in the West, where polygamy is not the norm. The way that Muslims do it, where you have now, it is a norm for a man to have multiple women, side chicks, and mistresses, and all that. But as you can see, that is the norm, and even Muslim women, Western culture or Western influence, Muslim women, they're more accepting of a side chick, more accepting of a mistress type situation where they're the wife. And as long as no one knows, or as long as, it's not, affecting their situation, and she's clearly, down and in the bottom and not prominent and not visible in their life, they're okay with it. And so this is the thing where it comes into where a man gets into polygamy. And then that wife, most of the time, they want to be seen as the number one, and they want to, get rid of the new person. And sometimes the new person who comes in wants to get rid of the original wife or whatever. The point is, this environment is still there, and I don't think most men can handle it. They cannot handle the uh the situation where you have the culture that's pressing. You have other women around who they are going to be trying to influence that relationship, and eventually it cracks. And like I said, the finances, with inflation and how much things are costing, it's very hard for an average person to to do it. It's just not that way now.
And we have to have a show on this, a debate on this, because I would say this. This is the last thing I'll say on it. Most of the people I know that are in successful marriages with 2 or 3 wives probably make less than $75,000 a year, and their wives have their own homes, their own places, and they're successful, married to African Americans, and they're doing it. So the finance, I could, given enough time, I could totally destroy any financial argument against polygamy.
Not without, like I said, there are exceptions. What I look at as the norm, as the standard, is the husband pays for everything. Now in the West, like I said, now I'm looking at his advice, like I said, and I'm going to leave it here. His advice was, don't do polygamy. If we're just talking about what I consider to be standard in the Western countries, where a Western woman wants her own house and accommodation and all those things, what it normally costs, I think it's prohibitive. But if you add in something extra, a concession, which is the woman also paying and working, then that might be feasible. Or, a lot of these people that have more than one wife, being real, they're on welfare and food stamps and all these things. So they're really not financing it. Those women are getting a Section 8 or some sort of free housing, or in their projects. That I don't consider to be actually, optimal. Okay. Now
we're talking about optimal.
I mean,
if we're going optimal, we're going to tell men not to get married at all.
Well, so are you telling men? So are you?
We're going to tell. Our optimal advice is don't marry anybody from America. Let's be real.
I'm just saying, if we're gonna bring in, projects and Section 8, food stamps, all that stuff, then man, a man can.
They already doing it.
You should have told me in the beginning then.
Look, listen, we're telling Abdul Williams, right? Sorry, Philly. Black African American from Philly, right? He got one wife who lives in Section 8. She gets hella food stamps, right? He got a regular job making about $50,000, $60,000 a year. And he's got 3 single African American sisters available and willing in the same Section 8 housing. And they're like, let's get down. We're telling that dude,
Go do your thing.
In that case, I changed my position entirely. Yeah, absolutely. You got it then.
Oh man, dang. Oh well, let's get to this next clip. We had a bunch of clips, but we went on a tangent. That was I think it was a good one. We probably should do a whole show on it and get some people to come on and give their takes on what they think, because I'm pretty sure people got some strong positions on for and against, but we'll see.
Absolutely.
But men, especially if you don't want to run into this situation with this man, especially if you're considering polygamy, you want to be up on your game. But this is a funny video, but also not that funny if you look at the implications of it. But we'll play it for you real quick.
Legs locked. Up. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4. All right. Hit it, big boy. See what you got. All right. Your turn. All right, now you see how I did it. Now let me see you do it like I did it. Arms out. All right, like that. Yes. Pay attention. I told you how to do it. Now let me see you do it. 1.
Poor man. You gotta stop counting. Stop counting. It's funny because you had the old father, or he's like he's trying to show him how to do something, and he doesn't look too out of shape. He has some nice sized arms or whatever. Goes up there, shows a few reps, and then his son jumps on there and just puts him to shame with how many pull-ups he could do.
Yeah.
And it's just for me, the big reminder I get out of it is, one, we always have to try to maintain and be in shape. Like as men, our health is going to decline, our strength is going to decline at some point, right? Mm-hmm. But we should do our best to try to maintain that. And the other reminder I get is that, listen, man, we're not young chaps anymore. We got to be a little realistic. At some point, right? Our sons, our Ibns, they're going to be looking at us like, man, I remember this dude used to be so strong and scary, and we just ain't going to be that anymore. So, don't be surprised when your sons get faster than you, stronger than you, and other sort of things. That's the goal as a father, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the father and then the father in his mind, he thinks he looks like the son. How the son, he's literally he's ripped, he's jacked. In his mind, he's there, and I think we have to pay attention to that sometimes. And that's why I tell people all the time, man, sometimes you have to look at yourself in the mirror, try to do it every day, and and try to pay attention, and so that you don't slip every day. I tell people, like, working out or lifting weights is like drops in a bucket. You keep putting drops in the bucket, it'll fill up. But if you don't, every day a little bit leaks out. So if you keep at it, you can reach a plateau, and you can stay there. You might decline a little bit as you get older, but you can maintain a pretty good altitude. But
yeah,
you take days off, you get weak, you get slow, you wind up where you're not even nowhere near not just where you once were, but where you think you actually are. You're not even close. And so that's the thing. And I'll just say this. I remember a couple of weeks ago, one of my sons, who really doesn't lift weights. He really doesn't lift, but he was he was at the house, and he was like, okay, I want to do some deadlifts or whatever. And so, I consider myself to be strong. Like, I can probably, I'm up to about close to 450 right now in deadlifting. So my son, he puts like 225, maybe more than that, on just did it for reps. Like,
how much?
And I'm thinking to myself, this little Negro is strong as heck. If he did lift, he would be way stronger than me, but he doesn't. But I didn't want to gas his head, but it's like, here I am thinking that and for me is it's good. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm older than I've ever been, but I'm stronger than I've ever been. But at the same time, it's like, you know, they you look at your son and think, okay, well, that's me still. No, they they almost have like I say almost like steroids, where at that
Yep.
young they got so much testosterone and got nothing to do with it. Just they start lifting, and this young man looks like he works out a little bit, so he's way
Yep.
ahead of his dad now.
Yeah.
But that's where my other
Yeah.
sons I can still beat him running, but but lifting it's not going to be much longer before they
Yeah.
got me.
And I would say that, for the young, for anybody, well, for parents and stuff, like, Mubarak's talking about his son, um, think about where you are physically. If you are someone who, like Mubarak said, he's as strong as he's ever been in his life, I would say the same as well. Look back and what you would tell yourself when we're at that age of you just have natural steroids pretty much running through your veins, of what you can do to prepare your son for when he's actually at your age. Right? They can start doing it now and get themselves to that baseline that's going to be a lot higher than what your baseline was, and then set themselves up to have that nice, what I guess you say, the golden parachute type of, later day. So, encourage them to work out now, get fit now, get strong now, so that helps them, and build routines, right? So they could see, like, that's why this is like a Abu Bad type of plug or whatever, but we need to start doing this as well. As, I remember talking to Mubarak years ago, and he was talking about having a home gym. Makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, one, you save so much time, save so much money, and it develops a culture in your household where, like, yeah, we work out, we're physically fit. The kids are just going to pick that up naturally when they get their own households. Like, oh yeah, part of getting a household is I need some weights, I need some pull-up bar, or whatever it is, and you develop that. It's a good characteristic to have in your family, that you could pass down to the generations. So
Yeah, and I'll just say, just to add on to that, and we can move on. But it's like, it's really about winning, and winning is not always, comparing yourself to everybody else. Like I do, like like Dr. Griffin, he's stronger than me, and so I always. Every time I go to the gym, I'm like, got a picture of him up that I, on a punching bag, and I punch it sometimes. no, but seriously, I do use him as motivation, but at the same time, it's not for me. As me chasing him, I've gotten stronger than I've ever been, even though I haven't caught him, but I'm stronger than I've ever been. So that's an example of actually winning, and like winning is actually where you get a little bit better than you were yesterday every day. So as long as you get a little bit better than you were, and every day you just build on that a little bit, then I mean you're winning. You're going to be good. You may not be as strong as the next person, or as fast as the next person, or in as good a shape as the next person, but you'll be in as best shape as you've ever been, and you can keep on growing from there. So just get a little bit better than you were yesterday every day, and you'll definitely win.
Yeah, we use sports analogies all the time, and you can see why, because you learn so much. Even like just working out. Working out is like the basis for all types of good characteristics and qualities you have, whether it's in sports, life, or whatever. Like Mubarak said, just a little bit better. Those individual wins. You're battling against yourself. That type of mentality, you develop that young in your kids, it's going to carry over into everything else they do in life. Think about it. You want your kids to be a hafiz, like that grind of memorize another ayat. I'm a little bit better than yesterday. Memorize two more, like just anything. Like, so, really, really, really get into it with you and your family. Be the example. On the flip side, we talked about this on the last show a little bit, and we talked about the cultural, like, I don't know if it was on this show or R2F, but we talked about somehow some cultures have this idea of like where it was on this show where your mother is your queen, and the man or the sons are just like they're babied until they're adults, and they have this. It's just a cultural thing. I would say it's a little bit unhealthy, especially in the extremes. Some may argue different from a different culture, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be this.
You were my strength when I was weak. You were my voice when I couldn't speak. You were my eyes when I couldn't see. You saw
Oh
man! What's funny is that it's not just Afghans. It's lots of women and culture from the Muslim world, from the Middle East and Asia.
Yep.
I don't know if so much in Africa, but definitely in Asia and in the Middle East, it's like that. But you will find women complaining that their husband, their mother-in-law is treating their husband like this and his baby and them and everything. And then what do? They turn around and they're the same way with their sons
Their
to their
sons. Yes.
daughters-in-law. So.
It was funny, this comment you see here, and it kind of alludes to that, where it says, as long as it's right here, as long as he sets boundaries with his wife / marriage, she can forever baby him all she wants. Remember, ladies, heaven lies beneath a mother's feet. So
Fabricated underneath.
yeah, see, and this is the thing. So she's, by this comment, it kind of touches on the problem of like setting boundaries. So obviously there's issues with, if you're babying too much, depending on how your mother treats you, it could cause issues in your marriage. Because this is a lady, based on her profile pic, she doesn't look too old. She's probably someone that ran into, or at least has seen people experience issues in their marriage based off of how their mother-in-law treated their husbands, right? And I would say, like, okay, and it kind of, I've seen documentaries where, and it's Western people for some reason, but they will like breastfeed their kids until they're like 9, 10 years old, had the kids sleeping in the same bed till they're like teenagers. And we can make an Islamic argument about this because, like, for instance, there's a hadith about like certain times you're supposed to teach your kids not to come inside your room, and because we're adults. But it also, it's like you have to rear your children. Like, you get to breastfeed them for 2 years. There's a reason for that. There's reasons for that. But you're supposed to be raising a man, not a baby, not a man baby who you baby until they're adults, right? That's my take on it. Like, it's not only issues in the marriage, but what type of man are you raising where he's expecting to get his love and affection and babying from his mother? Go to your wife. Like, I don't know.
I'll just say this. The craziest thing that I think I've ever seen in regards to this topic is that it was a woman who was breastfeeding one of her children or one of her offspring. And this woman was standing up, and the child was standing up as well.
Wow.
So he was big enough to stand up. I mean, it just, you get the picture.
Man.
That just, it was disturbing, to say the least.
I got a personal story about that. I'll tell offline now. All right. So on our theme of people who give bad advice, and I've seen this guy's clip before. He does this, right? He gives marital relationship advice, finance advice, and like, this is what he does. He's kind of like we did like a Dear Abby article. He's like an online version of a Dear Abby, but just a guy. And I won't play the whole clip because it's kind of long, but you'll get the point of what he's
ever
saying.
Disclosed to my wife that we are secretly worth millions of dollars.
Are you from another culture?
I was born in Korea, but I was raised in San Jose.
So you were raised by Korean parents that immigrated here?
That is correct.
Okay.
And
because in Anglo-America, what you just described, as you probably realize, is pretty whacked. That's why I immediately said, is there some kind of a cultural reason for this? Because it's very unusual.
I work. My wife is a stay-at-home wife because that's just how we chose to. The thing is, I'm the saver and she's the spender. I have been working very hard, working my job in my business to grow to where we are. And I am not sure whether I should ever disclose our net worth to her because I do not know how she's going to react.
Yeah. Well, she's probably going to react poorly because she's married to a guy who's deceived her. Don't you think?
And I'll stop there because that's pretty much the premise of all his advice, or his advice, is that this is deception. And I have a bunch of other things I want to talk about on this clip. But I'll say this and let Mubarak go. But right in the beginning, he tries to point out this culture thing, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And tying into the stuff we talk about at the R2F show, what what race or what culture is always famous for imposing their culture or race or their values upon another individual as if like they're the epitome of culture. So he's like, this is strange in Anglo-America. This must be a cultural thing. Well, why are you trying to enforce your idea of what culture, what should be done, your culture on this individual who, by fact, was raised in San Jose, California? He's American. Like, let's be real, right? He's raised in America. He doesn't like, oh, I came from this, thing, and we don't share finances or whatever. I would even argue, especially, he's Korean.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I understand, Korean women and a lot of those Eastern Asian relationships, the women are actually kind of like the head honchos in the household.
Mm-hmm.
So I would argue that he's probably going against what that Korean culture is as far as keeping his finances to himself or not sharing. And this ties into our whole discussion on open book versus closed book. So what did you get when you first heard this?
Yeah. So basically what you touched on as far as when he says in Anglo-America, which, man, F Anglo-America, number one. He's not an Anglo-American. He's a Korean American, number one.
Yeah.
And this also touches on the way that you said about giving advice. So he gave general advice to someone who's asking specifics,
Yes.
and so that's where he messed up as well. He also later on in the clip, he talks about how he also tried, he repeatedly tried to shame this guy about how he's not disclosing the fact that he's worth millions of dollars and is making millions of dollars to his wife, who's a spendthrift. And he says, well, you've been married for 5 years and you've been sleeping with her all this time. As if, so as if that is the reason why he should be disclosing everything, as if, he's taking something from her.
Well, real quick, just on that point, what, based off of what he just said, you've been sleeping with her for 5 years. From that evidence, what distinguishes that from just a prostitute that he could have had for 5 years? Does that mean if you had a steady on-call mistress for 5 years, you've been sleeping with her for 5 years, you better let her know how much you make and share the finances with her? Like,
because there is a subliminal part of Western American Anglo culture, as he said, where because the man sleeps with a woman and he's intimate with her, he owes her, something more, as if he's taking something from her and that she is, she's somehow giving something up, which she is in a sense, but where I'll just say this, and I'll try to make it as inexplicit as possible. The myth, it's a myth, a strong one, that the man is the one who's the most aggressive as far as intimacy and the one who needs it the most, and it's that's a myth. And I would think that if you polled 1,000 husbands who've been married for any length of time, they would tell you that it's about equal, or they're the women are more in tune, or let's say paying attention to that side of things. So I just think that people go overboard in that area. Well, you've been sleeping over 5 years. Yeah. And she's been sleeping with me for 5 years. So, I mean, it's like, it's not like, okay, it's a two-way street. There's mutual benefit there. So that's number one. And he's trying to shame him because you've been sleeping with your wife, the woman who agreed to marry you, who agreed to do that, who wants to do that with you. Now you need to share all the finances. With this is, I'll just say this. This was some of the worst advice that I have ever seen a person give to a person who's actually doing everything exactly right. He's doing the exactly right thing. He's the savior. He's the person who is, pays attention to the finances. He's the person working. He's built up his business to where he's making millions of dollars, and his wife doesn't know. But anytime she gets her hand on a little money, she spends it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't think about it. So yeah, he would be a fool if he did not, not only just manage the money, but not let her know how much money he has, because the more money she knows that's available, the more she's going to want. But if she doesn't know, like we talked about last week, her expectations and her happiness with how much money she's allowed to spend and waste or whatever is proportional to how much money she thinks you have. So he did not need to ask Dave Ramsey for any advice. And I would say, based on this clip, I don't even really listen to Dave Ramsey. My dad used to listen to him 30 years ago. That's the only reason why I used to listen to him on the radio. But based on this, anybody who had been taking advice from Dave Ramsey, don't. He's a fool, and don't take any advice from him whatsoever, just based on what he said there. He'll lead you astray.
And let's break it down. A man calls in who's successful financially because he's making millions of dollars, and from the sounds of it, self-built millionaire, right? I built this up, I've worked and this and that, right? Married woman, and puts her in a traditional marriage, stay-at-home mom, right? She has the benefit of being a stay-at-home mom and not having no need for anything. And just like he said, oh, you've been sleeping with her for 5 years. Well, she's been sleeping with me for 5 years. So what does she owe me? I've also been taking care of her for 5 years, right? Her whole everything that she's been getting to live and sustain herself, I've provided that for 5 years. So we're talking about like what's owed to what for whatever kind of sex. It's a marriage. Let's get out of that whole context. The bottom line is that he has, from what it sounds like, because he didn't say, oh, she complains about not being able to buy what she wants. She complains we're having problems and this and that. They have a successful marriage for 5 years. And I just looked this up. After you hit the 5-year mark, the odds of you having a lifelong marriage, like they skyrocket, because most divorces happen within the first 5 years. So he's telling this guy who's basically, you succeeded for the first 5 years, you have a successful marriage and family, you're deceptive and pretty much shaming him into, you need to share with her, you need to change something up. What's the saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why are you trying to, dude, don't ask anybody for advice. You are succeeding right now. Right now, and he didn't, because he didn't start comparing to his own marriage and what he values. That's one thing you should never do when you're giving someone advice. Don't give advice based off of what you personally value, right? Because if I gave people, like if I gave marital advice based off of what I get out of a marriage and what I value, like there'd be so many divorces of people taking my advice, right? People just be dropping like flies. Like, oh, next week they're divorced, right? He's like, oh, I've been married for 43 years and I value a good relationship. Why are you assuming that him and his wife have a bad relationship? Why are you assuming that? It sounds like they have a good relationship. And he knows, and he did say something that was key that the guy should pay attention to. There's a reason why you haven't shared this with her yet. Don't forget that reason, dude. Right? There's a reason why you didn't. You know she's gonna spend whatever, like Mark said, whatever she knows you have, she's gonna try to spend as much of that as possible, right? Which could financially cripple you. I would even go on to say that is if this dude went home and shared his finances with his wife, I don't know when this clip is or how old it is, they're gonna be divorced before they reach another 5 years. Because now it's in her head, like, one, oh, you're telling me now she's automatically going to think deception like he did. Why are you keeping this secret from me? 2, now they're going to start having arguments about what they should buy, how much they should buy. Oh, well, you got the money. Why are you saving it? You don't trust me. They're going to start having all these issues, and they're going to divorce like a lot of people divorce because of financial related issues.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I don't see any benefit whatsoever. There's not a single possible benefit that him or his wife or his family or children could get from him disclosing that to her.
Yes.
She's not involved in the day-to-day making of the money. She spends too much. She doesn't think about how she spends, and so that could only be harmful. And so, and this is why this is a little plug for why we do this show. This guy Dave Ramsey, who gives financial advice, he's an accountant or does that. He shouldn't be giving marital advice. because he's
I
had
thought he gave marital advice.
No. Dave Ramsey, no. See, Dave Ramsey is a financial guy. He gets help.
Okay.
He would get out of debt and this, that, and other. But now he's the guy called in finances, but it was wrapped into the issue with his wife or whatever. So he's giving marriage right, and this is why it's a disaster. So if people say, "Well, who are these two guys just running their mouth?" Listen, the one thing that the criteria we had for starting this show is number one, you had to have been married, you had to have been divorced, you had to have been in polygamy before, you had to have these experiences. So when we're talking about stuff, it's based on actual on the ground knowledge and being in these situations and have survived and thrived in them. This guy who talks about, I've been married for 43 years and blah, blah, blah. So he's had one situation in what he values. He does not have any idea about the culture that this guy is coming from or from his perspective. Maybe he has a wife who's really, really good with finances. So he can't understand how, you couldn't share, but obviously he's batting outside of his he's kicking outside of his coverage. He doesn't have the range to answer this question. And so the things that we deal with, we definitely have the range to do it. So that's why we're here. That's why they pay us.
and it's very clear because I've been 43 marriage. Okay, you had a successful 43-year marriage. Congratulations. You're supposed to be giving financial advice. If I step outside my marital advice and be like, okay, I'm not giving you marital advice, but based off of what I know about finances, is that X out of X marriages end in divorce, and X out of X marriages is that they're gonna share this money, whatever. So like he should have went down the financial route and talked about divorce, alimony, splitting assets. You live in California, they're gonna rape you, buddy, because that's the shared asset state. They're gonna get everything, right? So you should do everything you can do to avoid a divorce, which is mean don't notify her of this. Even if I disagree with you keeping it from her, don't do it now. Too late for that. That ship has already sailed. And two, you should probably take all your assets and put it in your mother's name. Right? That should have been his financial advice, right? Dude, this dude's never going to hear this clip, but you never know. If anybody's in this situation and you're married, you're successfully married for whatever amount of years, and you're actually got more money than what your wife or family knows about, this is the exact time that she should find out about your finances when she gets the will after you die. That's the exact point when they shouldn't be known about your finances. And then they'll actually appreciate it. Oh, wow, look, he was looking out for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that way, that definitely be a much, much better situation. But it's unfortunate that there's so much bad advice that's on the internet. But that's what we're here for. We're here to try to save people.
Say it with confidence.
One clip at a time.
Yeah, and then he was probably married to someone like this. This next clip we got.
Independently, every single one of them. And in times where I get so exhausted with working, I think it would be so much easier if I had a partner and I could just assume that housewife role. And then I remember, this is the one thing that puts me back in the game and reminds me how important it is to have your own money. And it is the thought of arguing with my husband about which pads to buy. No, listen, no, hear me out. No, seriously. Because when money is his, like he's the primary breadwinner and you make absolutely nothing because you're not working at all, it is his money. Like, that is his entitled money, and he only has to pay for your necessities. So every other luxury, you kind of have to convince him that it's worth it. And there are certain things that you just cannot convince him because he won't get it. And I had a friend, I'm so sorry to call her out, I love you, but I had a friend, she got married and, became the traditional Muslim housewife, mashallah. And she told me how frustrated she would get that her husband kept buying the off-brand pads that she didn't like, or the cheapest pads, because he'll just go, trying to be a good husband and buy her necessities, but he just doesn't get it. He just finds the cheapest one. And she's like, no, it's not the right size or not the right quality. And he's like, but isn't it all the same thing? It looks all the same to them and they don't get it. And having to convince them that the one that is, $10 more is actually.
So she goes on rambling, but I love how they expose themselves when they say these things. And I'll just point out real quick so we don't miss it how she exposed herself. Where she said this husband was trying to be a good husband and go out and do the right thing. And she explains the conversation she had with her friend. And it's very clear that this was a one-time discussion that her friend had with her husband. He went out, tried to buy his wife pads to be like, I'm going to do this for you, wife. And he bought the wrong ones. And then they had a discussion about like, what are the right ones? Because he just didn't understand, like, aren't they all the same? And she explained to him, like, no, they're not all the same. They're different sizes, different quality. And I'm pretty sure that husband that initially had the thought and the care of his wife that I'm going to go out without you asking and buy you some pads for your necessities. I'm pretty sure I would bet money that this husband went out and bought the exact pads that she said, these are the ones I need. And to frame it as if like they have these constant arguments about which pads to buy, this is so disingenuous, so full of crap.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry, unless this lady changes, or this is a character she's playing online, unless this sister changes, guess what? What's the famous word of Kevin Samuels? Bye, cat. Die alone.
Die alone. Because, yeah, I mean, if you think about this, and we touched on it last week about the open book, closed book policy. So a lot of the things that these women, I want to have my own money and these things, if you add up the things that when they talk about having their own money, what they want to spend, it's never because they want to, pay the mortgage or the rent. It's never because they want to pay the light bill and the gas and the water bill. That's not it. It's usually things like this, $10-20 a month or whatever for pads. I don't even think they cost that much. But let's just say it's $25 for pads.
She mentions like haircuts and
okay, she wants to get her hair done. Okay, even if you say you spend $100 a month on your hair, and really shouldn't be doing no nails, sister, if you're doing that, but just say, and on pedicure, manicure, or whatever, $150, $200. Just say you spend $200 a month, so $250 a month. That is not that much in general for your husband to be able to peel off extra for you, where now you think about this. So she said, I gotta work to have my own money, and these are the things that she mentioned: feminine products. Let's just throw shampoo and her nice perfumes, different things that she likes that maybe her husband doesn't want to buy. Let's even say it adds up to $500 a month. So you would go and work, for probably a man. Your boss or supervisor is probably going to be a man, maybe not, but you're going to go and work for some man in his business or his shop or wherever. You're going to go there to do that. You're also going to, leave your house and the comforts and whatever there for $500 a month worth of things and amenities to make you feel like, just so that you don't have to ask your husband, for things, or convince him to get you these things, which I would say that it's much easier for you to put that energy and effort into getting that extra $250 or $500 a month from your husband. And you probably could if you put that same amount of energy into where you're going to go to work to have your own things.
Exactly.
Now, if this lady was working and paying the bills and helping with the mortgage and that's different. Go ahead, sister, help your husband out. That is excellent. But if it's just for that, what she said, no, it's ridiculous. And you probably could, if you had a little bit of finesse, a little bit of game to you, you can get that extra $250 to $500 out of your husband. I guarantee. See,
that's what popped in my head when she said you have to convince him. So you have to somehow convince him. What did Mubarak say earlier in the show? Right? If you're nice, you get your husband to like you and all these different things. It's so easy to convince your husband to do these things like that. Because here's the thing. Here's the reality. I don't know how many jobs she alluded to, like having multiple jobs or something like that, right? And each one of those jobs, and this is always going to be an argument against women that have this position. In each one of those jobs, you go in and serve somebody as if they were your husband. You put 8, and here's the thing, right? Let's be real. Let's break it down. Let's go down to the numbers. say she has one job, works 8 hours a day. You spend 8 hours a day, whether it's a man being your supervisor or a woman being a supervisor, you behave with them better than you probably would behave with a husband if you had one. You obey with them, yes, sir. Oh, I'll make you happy, because you want the promotion, you want the raise, you want all the good performance review. So you, on your best behavior, trying to make sure that they like you or are pleased with you. 8 hours of that day. However, let's compare that to being a wife. Your husband is probably going to work 8 hours a day, sleeping another 8 hours a day. You got 4 hours left. 2 hours a day, maybe he's spending for himself, working out or doing other different things. You would only have to spend 2 hours a day doing that effort of trying to please your husband, make him happy, and get that promotion and get that raise, so that he would actually, if you asked him for anything, he'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll get it. And he'll go to work even more. That's even less hours of the day that you actually have to spend working. It's so the Western system is so like it's just like such, I don't know what they call it, it's like a big scam. Everything's a big scam, because when you actually step outside of it, you see how it doesn't make absolutely any sense whatsoever. You spend 8 hours a day kissing somebody's butt that you don't like, that you don't get anything from, that the 90% of that money that you get goes back to paying bills because you're living by yourself, you're paying rent, you're paying mortgage, you're paying electricity and all that, where you're like, yeah, when I think about being a stay-at-home a wife, oh no, I can't do that because I got to spend $10 extra on my maxi pads.
Yeah.
No.
When it's
The
like,
hell?
yeah, I mean, your husband can probably, if he could even do a little bit of overtime at work, he's not only he's gonna be able to make way more money than you probably would be able to in general.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's overtime. Then it's like, these women, you're not thinking about it in the right way. Like I said, you gotta, like I said, that's what we're here for. We're here to put you up on game. Your energy should be put into getting that money out of your husband, and you can chill at home. You don't even have to work, but you would rather go and be nice and convince and pretend and fake smile and do all those things for a stranger. It makes you feel a certain way, but really it's inefficient. It's extremely inefficient.
Who at the end of the day, like, yeah, we actually don't need you anymore. See ya.
Yeah.
Silly.
Yeah.
All right. This plays right into, so like, and then here we go. Like, we're doing this. We seem to be doing this thing where like we imagine somehow all the people in all these stories are somehow related. Right? So let's go with that. That previous sister we just watched was actually married to this man. Right? And the lady in the very first clip that didn't care whether her husband was happy or not or whatever, she was also one of his wives, right? Yeah. Well, guess what? He passed away. Right? So the wives and children of the late Kuma Wood actor, I'm going to slaughter this name, Abogwe Brenya, have taken the matter to court after he allegedly willed all his properties to his housemaid, leaving nothing for his family. Right? So let's look at real what he, in essence, he passed away, had a fortune, and left it to who? The person that was actually their job to make him happy, and she succeeded in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it comes full circle. It comes full circle, and I mean, this. I mean, I believe this, even though it could possibly satire, but it's believable. Why? Because the maid, her job was to make him happy. So whatever he asked for, she did it. How he wanted it, when he wanted it, and tried to the best of her ability to make him happy with whatever she was doing. Yeah. And also, he probably was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, be real. she was definitely probably going the extra mile. If he left everything to her, then she
we've seen tons of 80s movies and 90s movies of this exact thing. So yeah, we know what's going on.
Yeah. So I mean, and I know like in Western culture, it's always that knock against, what do you think, I'm a housemaid or whatever? But honestly, if you took that mindset and at least thought of like, okay, how a housemaid might conduct themselves, it probably will produce the results that you're probably looking for. Like the first woman who couldn't even stomach the thought of someone asking if her husband was happy. Like, how dare you? She probably like in her mind, just like Dave Ramsey, is like, oh, you slept with her for 5 years, so that means no. She probably thought, well, I got that covered sometimes, whatever. So he should be happy. And no, that doesn't equate to happiness. A happy ending does not automatically mean he's happy. So the housemaid, she had the right idea and she got the bag in the end. So that's a lesson that wives can learn, is that you can operate the same way, and it probably will produce some good results.
Yeah, it's really that kind of ties all those things together, as Mubarak said. All that little bit of work that any of his wives or his children could have done, that the one sister was complaining about, you failed, and guess what? All of you guys lost. I mean, it's really telling right there, and this happens more often than not. And just to promote, because we're Muslim, Islam is perfect. If you follow Islam, even in those situations, it wouldn't even happen, because you got to follow Islamic inheritance laws, But hey, and I think this is satire, because I looked at a few other clips of what they put up, and I think they're playing these roles just to get views. Nonetheless, I'll play the clip, because I was actually kind of feeling this, the pain of his brother. I'll play the clip.
No, it was a nightmare the whole time.
You worked 3 hours. It was supposed to be.
Just to read, if you can't read the caption, it says, "My husband refuses to work a part-time job when I'm working 2 full-time jobs."
5. You weren't even supposed to come home.
I'm not cut out for this.
I'm not cut out for working 2 jobs, and you want me to work 3?
Can you just work double overtime?
No, I'm doing as much as I can to support our child. I need a little help. That's all I'm asking.
Babe, I can stay home. I can take care of the baby.
No, I need help supporting him.
I'm not one for working a job.
I'm not one for working a job. I don't want to work. I want to be a stay-at-home mom.
So basically, he worked a part-time job, and he's coming home, and he just can't take it. He can't. And for anybody that's worked dead-end jobs, that's been coming, our younger years where you first start working, you're like, damn, I was at this godforsaken place all damn day for this little bit of check. I hate that. I was feeling him like, I've been there. Like, I can't do this.
That's like the feeling where you get up and you like getting ready for work or trying to be, and you just sit there and like, I ain't going. You just can't do it. I've been there before. I'm like, yeah, I'm done, man.
Yep. And I would say, like, this is a lesson not only for men but also for women. And where the first lesson is, you have to do your best. And again, we probably should have another show on this to just delve down deep, but you have to put yourself in a position where you're not working these dead-end jobs, right? It's not like, you hear people say, like, find something you love to do and then you're not working. Okay, all that sounds good, but like, let's be real. I don't care if you love to do it. If you're working for a place where you actually have to go in when you don't want to, you're not going to want to do it, right? Because I actually like my job, but because I have to go in at a certain time and leave at a certain time, a lot of days I'm like, man, I don't feel like doing this today. I want to go do something else.
I mean, unless my job was like to watch sports or something like that, listen, I don't care what it is. I just
even then, I'll argue that if someone said, okay, you got to clock in at 8 a.m. to watch sports till 3 p.m., there's going to be some days you're like, I'm not doing this crap.
Yeah, you're right, because even now I gotta fast forward in double speed. I can't even watch. I don't even watch them at one time.
Yeah, but you gotta really put yourself, especially when you're young, in a position where you're doing something that's not actually stealing your life away when you're going to work. Something that is bearable, something that is preferably easy, and the higher, like, whether it's a meaningful education or actual certification, the less work you actually do. So like, that's what people have to understand, is that, like, for instance, when like you move up in a company, you don't do more work, you do less work actually. right? The higher up you are, those people do less work. The CEO of the company, they don't really do nothing besides tell other people what to do.
He's in his office sleeping most of the time.
Yeah, he's in his office sleeping, giving special instruction to his maid. That's what he's doing, right? So it's important to get like certifications. Don't go to college for some bull crap degree. I would argue even nowadays, like if you could find something that you're interested in doing and have a knack for that doesn't require any college, right? You could just go and get a certification or some kind of thing like that, a license. Go do that because college is just a scam. The whole education system is a scam, period. But if you are going to go to college, go to something like, okay, when I graduate, there's going to be a good job for me, right? That is going to be bearable work, because working those entry level 9 to 5 jobs, like he has a hat, it looked like he maybe works at some kind of food service or Domino's or something like that. They actually work 10 times harder than people that makes 10 times more money than them. You don't want to be stuck in that. And then for women, like she's working 2 jobs, right, to help support the family and all that. Just the lesson of like, if you got an opportunity to be in a situation where you're the traditional stay-at-home wife that doesn't have her own money and has to convince her husband to spend $10 extra on maxi pads, I guarantee you would rather be in that situation than this lady who has to work 2 jobs and is married to someone who's like, man, I can't go to work at all. I'll stay home, take care of the kids. I can't do it.
Like he crying against the wall. But I would say this definitely got to be a different show. We probably should do one exclusively on that. But as far as, I mean, I'm telling you, if a person can, even if they make, median salary or whatever, if they can just somehow for 3 to 5 years to be able to save or be able to take majority of that salary and put it towards whether it be a house, business, or some sort of assets that will produce income for them. I mean, to me, I think about it every day, actually. And I think about, unless you go to college for something specific that is definitely going to produce some desired results, then you'd be better off to working for 4 years and just like literally just living with your parents or something like that. And I mean, just the math, like I said, it's got to be a different show, but for sure. I mean, it's like, I mean, the amount, how far ahead of everyone else coming out of college and then beyond is night and day, man. So just
there was a clip I seen. I should have put it in here, but it was a guy with an English accent, and he was pretty much going, he's like, what's all this about generational wealth? Like, he's like, it was multiple generations that existed before I got here. And I don't got a dime. I don't got a dollar. No one left anything. And now they're telling me I got to be the one to start some generational wealth, right? But the idea is like, as being the ones, right? And especially being African Americans, if there's African Americans listening, like we don't really have that idea of generational wealth. We have this, we kind of totally bought into this individualistic idea of American Western society. Like we kick our kids out at 18 or 17, go ahead, go figure out on your own. But just that, a change in mindset is where like, okay, you might not be in the position to leave your kids a house or hundreds of thousands of dollars in inheritance and all that. But you can be the one to say, you know what, kid, you could stay with me for the next 5 years while you work and save up to do XYZ. You don't have to pay rent. You don't have to do that. You could be the one to start that, like a generational mindset where like you think like, you know what? I might not be here for my great grandkids, but you know what? They're not going to have to work. And we're going to put that mindset in our family now so that I set my kids up to be at a certain level. Then they set their kids up to be a certain level. And that carries on, that mindset, that culture carries on through the generations, where eventually, you know, how they say looking down or whatever, like we don't believe that in Islamically, but you're looking down at your 5-6 generations, and they're just sitting back collecting like rental income or business income while they, you know, go around and argue about what types of maxi pads to buy. You know, maybe that's This one actually kind of this one triggered me, but I'll read it to you guys. So a mom goes viral after gifting daughter $48,000 in child support. So pretty much every child support payment she received for 11 years, she saved it up and gave it to her daughter. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are hearing this, seeing this, and they're like, "Oh, good for her. Good guys and men and women are probably like, good for her. Like she didn't even use the child support. She gave it to her daughter." And because the stereotypical version is that the baby mama takes the child support and just spends it on herself, maybe some for her child's need, but she didn't do that. She took the father's child support and then gave it all to her child. But I don't know about you, Mubarak, but I was actually kind of extremely pissed at this, right? Mainly for the idea of the people that's going to be praising her and her going viral for doing this, and no one like calling her out on this, because this is actually parental alienation. Because one, you took the child support, which shows one, and you didn't use it. What does that say? You didn't need it. That's one. Two, and the big one is that you gave it to your daughter as if it came from you. The headline should have said, "Father gives daughter $48,000 on her birthday." That should have been the headline. That's it.
Hey, listen, like I said, this is why we pay you the big bucks, Dr. Gifford, because I didn't even think of that angle. I was just thinking of this lady have this $48,000 for 11 years, when there's all types of better ways you could have used that money. Instead of just saving it and waiting, you could have actually put that money to use some sort of way.
Yes.
But what you said, that's even worse. Now that I think about it, I mean, yeah, this woman is a criminal. She definitely is probably, well, we don't know for sure, but do you think that she was taking this money and then saying, hey, because I did the math, it's $363 a month that he paid for 11 years for one kid. Now, I mean, so do you think that she was saying every month, well, okay, yeah, that $363 came in, yet your dad paid, and oh, well, yeah, we're spending on you. But then she also was putting away her own, like matching it like a 401k style, where she's matching the money that he's putting in,
Nope.
no. So yeah, this is terrible, actually. I mean, I was just thinking of how she mismanaged the money, but I mean, yeah, she's a criminal. I mean, she probably, I mean, there's no doubt that the father probably, I wonder, I wish this guy could be tracked down somehow. I guarantee you he's pissed. I guarantee you.
Because here's the likely scenario. Based off of this post, based off of her putting this all on social media and all that, for those 11 years, even though she was getting that nearly $400 a month from the girl's father, she was telling your father's a deadbeat. I bought those shoes for you. I did that. Oh, don't ask your father because he doesn't provide. I'm doing this all on my own. All those narratives that she was selling to promote herself, right? And turn the kid against the father. The kid probably thinks the father for 11 years, because it's too late. Even if she wakes up and says, oh, wait, my father was given $400 a month for 11 years, it's too late. She already thinks her father's a deadbeat. He don't help me. He hasn't been able to help me. Probably isn't involved in his life whatsoever. Then 11 years, you also take that. It's like, it's pretty much like this, Mubarak. I have been siphoning money off of your bank account for 11 years. Then 11 years on like your at your wedding anniversary or whatever, I give you all that money, and I'm pretty sure it's not all the money. Like, let's be real. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and say she didn't save every single penny she got for child support, right? Yeah. But then I go back and give you back your money. Here's a gift, Mubarak, because I love you and I'm such a great friend, right? But then you find out, like, oh wait, I actually took it from your bank account. It's almost like we talk about TMOA, right? Where they try to guilt people, like, oh, the sheikh donated money to the school. money that you guys gave him. He gave it back to you.
Yeah.
And now you praise him for it.
Yeah, this type of person, this type of personality that would do something like this, and then you're broadcasting it. I mean, why? This type of person, I can see them saying this, but not actually even doing it. Be like, oh yeah, I gave this to you, and then she then makes the daughter, like the daughter probably will give her mom a bunch of, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy you a car, mom, or something like that. Which she gonna get the money back anyway.
Yep.
If that's the case, I mean, well, I know it'll never happen, but the father should try to sue or something. Okay, you got $48,000, you never spent any of it. It means you didn't need it. It should go back to him. And that's the one thing where, I try to explain to people all the time, Islamically, you don't have any right to the father or your husband's money, your ex-husband's money, the father of those children. He has the right to spend the money on them directly. Yeah. And if he's doing that, you're oppressing him by then forcing the court to take it from him or send it to you so you can do whatever. You can send him a bill or whatever, but if he's paying for everything, then you really don't need to be involved in it at all, But hey, like we started with the polygamy. These are the type of people. These are the type of people that you're talking about. Yeah, just go ahead and do it. No, sir.
Somebody's got to take the L for the rest of the I mean, but think about this. This kind of whatever personal experience, but it just reminds me of I have a child that I pay child support to every month, and her mother has a minimum wage entry level job, and my child actually said to me like, "Oh, do you think your child support is doing anything?" And I had explained, I was like, the amount of child support I give is more money than your mother actually makes. Because they're sold this idea that their mother is taking care of them and providing everything. I'm like, how is that when I provide X, Y, Z? Like, oh, my mom works. Yeah, and I still pay more than she makes. Yeah. So how to add that up? But it's. I mean, a tale as old as time, right? Same old thing, same old story.
Yeah.
This was an interesting one. We got 3 more clips, so we've been going this long. We might as well finish these up so we don't have any makeup to do for next week.
Time.
A former client, because I don't want nobody to think I'm talking about them now, but I had a former client whose husband was super successful. They had 3 kids together, 2 twins and 1 older son. He had a brownstone in Brooklyn, very, very expensive brownstone. She had a nanny to take care of the kids, even though she was a stay-at-home wife. She had me as her personal trainer, and each kid had a tutor for them for school, right?
Wow.
As we were working out, she told me she did not marry the love of her life. And I was like, wait, what? She was like, she loves her husband, but she's not in love with her husband. The person that she should have married was some guy, I think he did music or whatever. But she said, this is her exact words. I knew if I stayed with him, we would be having 4 kids and living in a trailer. So I went with him. That doesn't sound like love. She still wasn't happy. She still was fantasizing about someone else. I have a client.
A lot of lessons in this clip, man. A lot of lessons. I'll let you hit them up.
The number one thing I would say is, no, Sheikh, Dr. Griffin, these are the people that you're talking about. This is the culture. This is the culture, man. You can't just randomly. I mean, this was sad to me. It was sad to me that you have a man who, is doing, what he should do, and for extremely shallow and irrelevant reasons, the wife is not happy with him and wants to leave him. They're probably not together no more based on what he's saying, but it's this I mean, I hate to be that to sound like that, but for most women in this culture and environment are just not, they are not worth the time, the energy, and the investment. And this is one example. I shouldn't say most, but it is dangerous to not be very, very, very selective, because you could get a rotten apple like this.
And I would say there's a lot of red flags for if this man is still married to this woman. You might want to. I'll just say this: there's some red flags. One, she has a male personal trainer.
Mhm.
That's a red flag right off the top. You got a male personal trainer. Two, she's telling her male personal trainer, because pretty much what she's telling him by telling this story is that I'm available.
Yes. Mhm.
That's what she's telling this personal trainer. He might not have took it like that or whatever. Who knows what happened behind the scenes? But for her to go up and say like, "Yeah, I'm not really in love with my husband," that's just a cue. Like, I want you to start. Like, I'm letting you know that you have a chance. Okay, and that's the second red flag. Three, there could be like women that are in this situation, and it's very plausible. We got to be realistic that women that have premarital relationships or whatever it's previous marriages or boyfriends or whatever. That's what we deal with a lot in our American society. That women are going to fantasize or the grass is greener about someone else that they're actually not with. However, a woman that has her mindset, she's gonna suppress those feelings, never verbalize them, right? And kind of just go about her day because even men have something like, oh, I remember so and so Betsy from Boo from back in the day, and man, if I coulda, woulda, shoulda, whatever, then we kind of step out of it and reality comes back. But for her to actually verbalize that
Mhm.
means that she's really feeding into that. Like in Islam, we would call it like whispers of shaitan or the nafs or those types of things. But she actually believes that, which means she doesn't really actually value the situation, the blessing that she got, and the man that she's married with because of all this. It kind of paints a picture of like you're that stereotypical beta cuck husband,
Mhm.
right?
And I would say that in her saying it to her personal trainer is where she's really thinking about, you know, maybe acting on or on some of these things, so that sometimes they start to say it to people first to get that feedback of, well, you should
Mhm.
follow your heart or some, ridiculous thing like that, and so it is a thing where like you said, everybody, you can think of the next person or this person or previous person or whoever that may have one trait here or there or whatever that may be better, or you're more inclined to than the person that you're with. But you really have
Yeah,
to think about the best fit. She actually made a good choice in
made a great
going
choice.
with knowing that you're going to be in a stable situation. A singer or a musician or whatever, they in general have very transient sometimes unstable lives anyway.
Yes.
So
Yep.
she actually made the right decision, which this is what we would encourage a woman to do. You go with the person who is going to be stable and you're going to be able to, you know, use that foundation to have a good life. And that's what she has. But
Yep.
she's still, daydreaming and thinking and fantasizing whatever about the guy who she loved. If she loved him, okay, great. But I guarantee you that guy didn't really love her like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
and it happens where I don't think it's I don't know if we had that if that's one of the clips that we were going to cover sometime in the future, but where
Mm.
a woman throws it all away thinking that for a feeling or a hunch, and then they
Yep.
wind up without the good husband that they had, or the Mr. Perfect who they thought was who wind
Yep.
up using them, abusing them, and then leaving them.
And it's a cautionary tale for men because if we're speaking directly to that man in this situation,
Mhm.
one, if you followed our advice, you would not be legally married to her.
And
Because
you
and
would
then
and she
there's a whole
and
what?
she wouldn't have a male personal trainer.
Yeah, that'd be the other thing. Yeah. And then also you'd have to be setting yourself up. You always got to kind of protect yourself. You got to protect your relationship. We talked about this in a lot of episodes, like many episodes ago, about relationships need constant work,
Mhm.
right? And planning. You can't just kind of fall back into this like, okay, I'm good now. My wife loves me. I love her. I got all this money. Our family's good, and I'm just kind of gonna kind of coast. No, you always have, and this kind of goes into the closed book policy, right? Promoting that because what's going to happen in this situation? we already got this woman verbalizing this, which remarks that that's her testing the waters of whether she's gonna go do it or is already doing it, pursuing something else. And really, because she made a great decision as far as like her happiness and well-being by marrying a guy that can provide her with security and safety. Now, in this Western society, we have to look now like the reason why she did choose you, brother Fulan, whoever you are, is because she needed that financial security and stability. If you legally married her, she now has access to that without being married to you. Almost, and if you're the guy who's like, arguing about Max Pass now, and like you playing that all this stuff connects. You play the other video, the mindset of like, I need my own money, I need to make my own decisions. Now, in her mind, she's actually going to make the next step, like, you know what? I'll actually have more financial security, stability, and freedom if I'm not with this person that I'm not madly in love with. Yeah, I love him, but now I can have the best of both worlds because I can be independent by divorcing him, taking half of everything. So I'm gonna get custody of the kids. I'm not gonna lose my kids. I'm gonna get half of his wealth. I'm gonna get this house we live in. I'm gonna get the tutors and all that stuff all by myself. And now I can also go pursue my musician lover and probably finance his career. Right? So like that's how this plays out.
It's a cold world, man. I mean, Dr. Griffin, are you sure you're not swaying back to my side of openly as a stand? I'm just saying.
No, because he's got to take the L for our kids. No, but seriously though, on that whole thing is, if you follow, like we have to, Mark, at some point we have to kind of put this all in a playbook.
Yeah.
And actually like put it out here, because if you follow our playbook from the beginning, you're going to be fine because you didn't marry an American, right? You'll be able to have 3 or 4 like wives. You'll be set financially. You're not going to be legally married. You're not going to have to worry about like the fallout if something doesn't work out. If you follow our playbook, you'll be good. But everybody else, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to take some L's so that our kids
or just
have
get
better
you
outlook.
just get you 4 ratchet Section 8 Jones.
Fighting over what to spend that food stamp card.
There's the open book policy, the closed book policy, and the Section 8 policy.
Well, this one's a good one.
This lady wrote, "First, I know I am a horrible, disgusting person for this. My boyfriend and I have been seeing each other for around 6 months. He has always been the strong, silent type, and it's honestly what attracted me to him. He has been my emotional rock and looked after me, and I loved feeling protected and like I had someone so manly and solid. This all started when for the 100th time, he came home from work and just seemed upset. Usually I ask him what's wrong and he says nothing, and I say he can always open up. Well, the other night for the first time, he cracked. He started to get emotional about his job and how he feels like he isn't doing enough in life, and how he worries something is wrong with him medically. He's on depressants and he doesn't think his medication is helping. I was completely shocked seeing him like this, and I began to comfort him, and it seemed like he was on the verge of tears. I held him, but as he got up to go and shower, he went for a kiss and I just leant back. This is going to sound horrible, but seeing him vulnerable and emotional completely repulsed me. I know it's wrong and I'm wrong and horrible, but seeing him in a moment of weakness made me just see him as not a man and was a turn-off romantically and sexually. Talking to a few other women, this is apparently not uncommon. I'm disgusted that I feel this way because my boyfriend doesn't deserve this, blah, 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 blah. That's why I said...
Yeah, that's this is one of our old time debates.
Shit, and so this is the thing. This is one thing that I feel like that I have mastered, or maybe I haven't mastered, but I feel like that I have become very, very, very in tune with making sure that I don't say anything that I don't know and understand, the repercussions or the ripple effect of how I say it. Sometimes your wife will ask you a question about something and you might be thinking, well, I'm just going to tell her. And the truth might hurt her feelings. It might cause her to react a certain way or to start thinking, whatever, all types of different things. In that same vein, something that you may be feeling or, about sharing that, it may not produce any benefit whatsoever. You think, well, I want to get some off your chest. You would be better off getting it off your chest to a friend, a male friend of yours, and be like, hey, man, this is what I'm feeling, XYZ, and doing it that route. Because, as in the clip here, your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, in this case it was a girlfriend, but for the Muslims, okay, your wife is going to, her emotions, and they're emotional beings, and it is tied to a lot of how she perceives you, how she feels around you, how she feels like you're treating her, and all that. So if she is going to be emotionally affected by something that you say, even if you're going through something emotional, when you're supposed to be the rock or the constant in her life, the thing that's stable, where she's going here and there. I used to tell my wife all the time, the reason why I don't have these emotional swings or whatever like you and with you is because I know that you're going to swing way this way. I'm still going to be here, and you're going to swing way this way, and I'm still going to be here. And then when you come back to the middle, yeah, everything is good. And then when you go on your swings, I'm going to be right here, stable and solid, right there in the middle. Yeah. So you have to be, as much as you might think, man, I want to get this off my chest, don't do it. It would be, now, even if I would say, let me go out on a limb. Even if we were having a private conversation, me and Dr. Griffin are having a conversation, and we're talking about something that's making me mad, I'm emotional, I start crying or whatever. Unless I was crying about something like, something very wimpy, it's not going to be like, man, it ain't do it. Men can understand why it might be reasonable to be crying. Sometimes women just can't do it. And as you can see the effects of it, that's why I say, I have a saying, never let them see you sweat. And never let them see you crying.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, that's definitely a rule we should all follow as men. Of course, there's exceptions to the rule and different things like that, but in general, like Mubarak hit it right on the head. You're supposed to be that rock, and you have to establish yourself as that rock. And Mubarak, just to dive into more what he mentioned in the beginning about, like, what's the benefit out of it, right? And as a man, you have to know, right? Women are, right, it's a debate we have, but women are highly emotionally intelligent in certain aspects. Emotional intelligence has different facets, and men are higher at different aspects than women are. But as far as, like, sensing the emotions that another person is going through, like the woman said, she said, I could tell something was wrong. As a man in that situation, that's all you need. Because the benefit, like, so for instance, like, I'm pretty sure she coaxed him into it, or you could tell me and make you feel better and all that. So his goal out of getting it is like, okay, I want to feel better. I want her to make me feel better by me telling her or her responding or whatever. That was the goal. That was the intended goal, I would say. You want your wife or your significant other to make you feel better. But you actually did something that actually, like, you threw money in the well. It didn't do anything, right? Because just by her, and she's a good wife, a good woman, just by her sensing something's wrong with him, and when she asked you what's wrong, all you had to say is nothing. And she would have did those same behaviors as far as, like, rub your back and maybe make you something nice to eat or whatever she does to try to make you feel better. She's going to do that anyway because she senses something's wrong with you. But by you opening up, all you did is open up a door for what potentially, highly potentially, actually happened. Is like, now she views you differently. So for instance, let's rewind that situation. She came, she said, oh, I know, well, I see something's wrong. Tell me, you can confide in me. If he just said nothing and then leaned in for a kiss, she would have kissed him, been a little bit, like, disappointed, like, oh, he doesn't share with me, but then went and made him a good dinner, rubbed his back, treated him nice, and it would have made you feel a little better. Then he could have went in the back room, called up his buddy, man, I feel like I'm a loser and these antidepressants ain't working. And the brother would be like, yo, suck it up, try this, try that, give him some actual practical advice to help the situation, and nothing would have happened in his relationship.
And even if even if, for instance, I'm like, Dr. Griffin, you know, I'm in at work, man, they always punking me and this and nothing. He said,
Yep.
man, listen, quit being a little bitch and,
Yeah.
and whatever. If you say that to them, it's not going to affect our relationship.
Exactly.
It's not going to have the effect. So you can, even if it was like the response was negative, or even if it was some criticism, or even if, you know, you were hard on me, that's better than what happened here. It's like it's almost, in a way, it's similar to, you know, the closed book policy, is because you have basically, while she's asking, hey, what's wrong, and he doesn't tell her, then I mean, the possibilities are endless. So she's always going to be chasing that. But once you open the box and tell her, and she sees that you're bankrupt, she's like, this nigga ain't nothing.
You know, you just remind me of something too, because we have as men, we have to be very, what's the word? Like, we have to be very strategic. We have to be very thoughtful. Like you mentioned how like you're very good at like responding in a certain way when things come up and what you say and what it could be interpreted as. You have to also go back and ask, okay, your wife is asking you what's wrong. Why? What's the most likely reason why she's asking you what's wrong? It's because she's actually worried that it has something to do with her. Right? Because she's just being like, is he upset with me? Like, because she loves her husband, and maybe she actually cares, like, am I doing something wrong? He's pissed. He's just not telling me because he doesn't share with me. As soon as she found out it actually wasn't her, she was relieved. But then when she found out it was something that she's like basically saying, like, you're a bitch. That's what's actually going on in her mind. Like, you're worried about work. Like, what? You're on antidepressants. I didn't know that you were dependent on drugs. Like this, it changed her whole perspective. So like, you got to ask yourself, like, when women are really like concerned about why you're upset, they're really just trying to make sure that it has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
So you can actually say, you probably shouldn't, but because you could play off this. But anyway, whole nother different story. But you could say, nothing to do with you. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. You're good. Go about your day.
Yeah, I mean, it's and we're not those red pill types people where they talk about hypergamy and women are always looking to you know, level up to the next more capable, more, you know, whatever man or whatever. But there is something to that, to where once they see that you are, you know, have, you know, leveled down as far as the way they see you as far as manhood and strength as a man, then, you know, that's why she kind of like, I don't have it for him anymore. So just got to be careful.
It's a good thing, like, as far as like men in relationship, and it's kind of a tangent, but when you're in a relationship and you have to understand why your partner's with you, whether you had that conversation with them or you just, I mean, you could pick it up really, like, why did that person marry you and why do they like you, love you? And it usually applies to like the physical aspect. Like if your wife married you because you were the most fit, in shape dude in the masjid, right? And dressed the best, and that's the value she gets out of being married to you. You can't be one of those dudes that after you get married, you just let it go. Because that's why she married you. Unless you replace that with something else. Like while you're married, she finds like, oh, he's very generous or he's very kind. I actually like him for that now more than the physical thing. So you have to make sure that like, you can't just like empty the box. There has to be something in the box that's tying you to that person. Because once all those things are out of that box, if we go back to that clip that the lady, she has personal trainers, her kids have tuners or tutors, they live in a brownstone, and they have all those things that they need. And pretty much what it means like is emptying the box, right? He emptied the box of why she needs him. It's very easy for her to fall into that hypergamy thing. Like, I'm going to look for something better because he ain't offering me anything anymore, right? So just think about that, guys, when you're in a relationship, and women as well. Think about that as well. Why is your husband married to you? Men aren't as subjected to it as women are, where we'll just like, because we have this thing of loyalty where we'll just, well, I've been married this many years, so I'm going to stay loyal and I have a duty and all that. But you're still subject to the same risk. We'll end on this one, which is a bit of good news, and cheers to you, whoever you are as well, Chinese dictator. But in China, wives can no longer claim their husband's property after divorce. And I bet you we had a clip on this previously. I forget what state it was, where they adjusted the custody laws, where it's automatically 50-50, and you've seen the divorce rates drop. I'm pretty sure the same thing's going to happen in China, where the divorce rates drop because there's no more a financial benefit to one side or the other for seeking a divorce. So that's, props to China for implementing that law. We need to see more of that in the West with the different custody and alimony and divorce laws. We need to see more of that now here as well.
I mean, I don't wonder. I just, I know what the result will be, but like, what do you think, now that if women realize, okay, I'm not getting anything, what do you think the repercussions of that would be?
Negative repercussions? Or
just in general. What
Well, like I said, divorce rates are going to go down, I believe.
Yeah.
That's one. I believe that there's going to be happier marriages, right? As far as that goes, because people aren't going to be seeking divorce. I just think that's going to be it. Like, I don't see anything else happening from it. But am I missing something?
Yeah, no. What I'm thinking is that I wonder how it even got to. Well, I mean, I know how it got to the point. You got when politicians want to get elected or reelected, then they implement things and do things to appeal to their demographic, their base, and 50% of the base is demographic.
Right.
So you have women who, they would love for that law to be, put in place where you get half of the property or whatever. That's how it got there. But I say alhamdulillah. Hopefully it spreads all over the world, or at least back into the West again, to where a man's property is his property. And I'll just say this. I'll end on this. As far as my take is concerned, is that the woman is getting, for as long as she's married to the husband, especially if it was his property or he's paying for it, he bought it, whatever, she is benefiting by being there. She's getting free rent and free room and board, and she's being taken care of, by that man's labor and him housing and clothing and maintaining her or whatever. So she didn't walk away with nothing. She got to spend 5, 10, 20, however many years of being taken care of, and she knew she had to do some work on her end, but that's the benefit she got out of, and hey, had she maintained that relationship, then she could continue. But if they get divorced, then well, you don't want him, which also means you don't get anything that's attached to him.
You know what it reminds me of when you just put it that way is, imagine you are renting an apartment or renting a house from somebody. So the exchange is that I'm paying you rent, and then I get the benefit of living in that house for a year, and I do that for 10 years. Then year 10, I decide I want to move out. And the law is that I get half the house.
And you know what would happen? People would be trying whatever they could do to rent. Man, I'm trying to rent. I'm trying to get a rental agreement, man. I need to get hey, listen, unless you're gonna let me rent that place, I don't want to deal with you. You gotta right? Because that way you get your cake and eat it too.
That's exactly what it is. You're getting a mutual benefit out of marriage, but at the end of it, for some reason, the party that has more assets has to pay. It makes no sense. And like, as when you talked about the political scene, you could see, and this is why Islam is so perfect, right? We're Muslim, we're biased, but I mean, really, just think about the policies that are so okay. So now you have a situation where wives don't get half their husband's property. But on the flip side of that, you also have to protect women in divorce situations so that men aren't just divorcing women and leaving them on, so that the public has to take care of them, right? So to complement that, you're going to have some kind of policy that governs, well, what is just and due during a divorce to actually make sure that these women are not a burden to society. All in all, I'm just getting like you're basically moving closer to what Sharia law.
Exactly. Hey, listen, you want a divorce? You get 3 months of maintenance. Figure it out. After that, you're on your own. That seems fair to me.
Yeah, exactly. And then take another step back. You know, they have to have a wali. They have to have somebody that actually is responsible for them, whether it's a father, brother, uncle, whatever. Like you, what you say, to make America great again, you gotta go with Sharia.
The Sharia is gonna make America great again. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yep. All right, so you guys tune in next week. Again, if you have any questions, comments, whatever, put them in the chat. Email us at emailamansworld@gmail.com. And this was a long show, but we're going to clip it up for you guys, put it out there, and tune in next week, and we're going to cover some more topics. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.